This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
INEC's continuous voter registration is still ongoing. Use the opportunity to register to vote. On the news this evening, APC reacts to Governor Fubara's defection rumor. Delay by Rivers State Governor to constitute cabinet stirs mixed reactions. Riwama to recruit sanitation marshals. President Tinubu swears in new INEC chairman. On the foreign scene, U.S. criticizes Israeli moves to annex the occupied West Bank. I'm Sam Chinedu, and the news continues after the break. Welcome back. Those expecting the Rivers State governor to defect from the APC to the PDP should be interested. The National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Felix Moka, says his party will not stop Governor Similai Fubara from joining the party. Mr. Moka said this during an interview with correspondent Onyeka Chinwosu. He, however, added that he is not aware of any ongoing discussion between Rivers State governor and the APC.
Not our business to announce those who plan to join or who may join. The people who join are the proper authority to announce their decision to join. So, I can't speculate to that. We just have to wait and see. And I think that it's a matter of public record when a governor decides to lead his party to join our party. But what I would say is that we welcome any governor or any, citizen who makes, a voluntary choice to join our party.
On the election of some known members of the PDP as local government chairman under the APC, Mr. Felix Moka said they have not flouted any part of the law.
Is there anything in our constitution or in the laws of Rivers State that forbids them from competing to serve at the local government level? Let's not create a false, crisis where there's not. So I won't go into the, details of what's going on at the local government level. But anyone who contested and won an election, the question is whether they were eligible to contest and whether they won. If they won, by whatever party they ran, they won. And if they have been, duly certified as having won the election, I think it should rest rather than try to nitpick and query the identities of these people.
More than a month after Governor Similai Fubara returned from suspension, many in Rivers State are beginning to wonder why his cabinet is yet to be formed. Speaking on this, public affairs analyst Opunabo Nkotaria tells our correspondent that Rivers people had expected the cabinet to be in place by now. He, however, added that the governor may have valid reasons for not yet appointing his commissioners, especially the Commissioner for Justice and Attorney General.
We expect the governor to constitute a full cabinet, but we don't understand why the rationale behind the delay. Rivers persons are eager to know their commissioners, especially the Attorney General of the state. But I believe that the governor must have some cogent reasons. Probably he's still negotiating with giving the peace agreement and the circumstances that led to the state of emergency, probably waiting for them to nominate, recommend, and so on.
Ms. Angotaria's spokesperson to former Governor Wike said only Governor Fubara can confirm if any part of the peace agreement is delaying the formation of his full cabinet.
The governor himself said, in the spirit of that reconciliation and peace, that the state will move forward. So he's the only one that can speak to the sincerity of that agreement or not. And from all indications, he's comfortable with it. And I strongly believe that when it has to do with the appointment of the commissioners, negotiations are ongoing. These are all conjectures because he never made any pronouncement, he never made any statement concerning the appointment of the commissioners.
Also speaking, a lawyer, Chinedu Wadi, said there is no cause for concern yet over the delay in appointing commissioners. Mr. Wadi explained that the governor is taking his time to consult widely and choose the right people for the job.
We must understand that he just came back after the suspension. The government must have to be prudent in terms of making selections. And this is the time for politics at the highest level. There is a lot of interest going on where the government will have to lie low, either to the federal government or to the appointed. Government will have to be prudent. This is not a family meeting. And of course, there is politics at the highest level, where there is an interest down to the level that, of course, from the appointer, the governor wants to select those that are very acceptable. 1 month is not enough. The governor is trying to be careful.
And still staying with Ngotaria, he's now asking Nigerians to continue advocating for change by speaking out against government policies that do not promote good governance. Ngotaria made the call in an interview with our correspondent, Emeka Otuka, while reacting to the directive by the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, for a multi-agency review of the presidential pardon list. He stressed that the action of the federal government undermines the principles of equity and justice.
Nigerians must be very watchful, like they did when this list was released. I commend Nigerians, especially those that have the gumption to speak. And that is what we need to do in order to ensure that the right things are done in this country. Because if we remain silent, we'll be taken for granted. So I'll call Nigerians to continue, never to relent. Whenever they perceive injustice, when they should not just relax and resign themselves to fate, but we should all come out and talk against that injustice. And that is the only way we can make the country better.
He emphasized that there is no justification for granting pardon to individuals convicted of serious crimes such as murder, drug trafficking, and kidnapping.
Granting anybody pardon, clemency, reprieve is not a problem, provided during the pendency of the punitive measures the person is remorseful. You can grant. But there is no justification. You're sentenced to death and 5 years after. What message are you sending across to Nigerians? The dog barrel. What message are you sending across to Nigerians? Meanwhile, others with lesser crimes are languishing in jail for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years.
As you may know, the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, has directed the EFCC, NDLEA, ICPC, and the police to review the list of individuals granted presidential pardon. This development follows widespread criticism over the names of those granted presidential pardon. And staying with matters from the judiciary, a Port Harcourt-based lawyer, Vincent Chukwu, wants the Supreme Court to always treat constitutional matters with the urgency it deserves. Mr. Chukwu gave this advice while speaking on the Supreme Court's decision to reserve judgment on the case involving the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State. He tells correspondent Suebi Oruwari that the outcome of the case may may merely serve as a reference point.
Any other time that such matters of urgent public importance are filed, then the Supreme Court must do everything within its power. In fact, such matters are classified as very urgent matters so that they should decide it with, and then let us know the illegality or otherwise of such action. The purpose of which we think it will serve now is just merely for the record and as a precedent. But then it was not the purpose for which the papers went to the court. It was for the court to determine the illegality or otherwise of the power of the president.
The lawyer said the judgment would have corrected what he called abnormality if it was given urgent attention.
we are seeing that the Supreme Court should not do certain things that even an ordinary person will perceive that the court is really not performing its role under the Constitution. That a case was filed and the cases of emergency, just like the case of the illegality of the election of the local government chairman in Rivers State, was given as a related hearing, that now that the Supreme Court has now adjourned this matter for judgment, of what use when the emergency rule has come to an end?
And to environmental stories now, more sanitation marshals will soon be recruited to arrest violators of environmental laws in Rivers State. The chairman of the Rivers State Waste Management Agency, Dr. Samuel Wanosike, said this while speaking with correspondent Emeka Otuka. Dr. Wanosike called on residents and business owners to dispose of their waste in designated receptacles, while plans are on the way to provide more across the state.
The point we are now is to get the foundation right. The foundation is get the proper dump sites that will make collection of refuse easy. In environmental activities in the state, if you cannot dispose, dump it. So we believe that when we have finished setting up the 3 new dump sites with all the equipment we need, then we also go to the second stage of recruiting sanitation marshals. After the recruitment, don't forget, we have environmental laws which permit that we take those refuse disposal deporters to an environmental court.
He said the ban on dumping of refuse on road medians remains in force.
We have previous receptacles that we inherited. We don't think they're adequate enough. So what we are saying now is that after drilling on the dump site, the next thing is to make sure we get equipment to also set up the proper receptacles at the properly designated points. And we are advising people who live and do business in Rivers State, so please caution their words. They should start learning how to dispose refuse properly. Every community is aware of refuse pickup points and refuse pickup times. It will be fair enough for them to start learning how to manage their refuse properly.
Obako Eche, the apex socio-cultural organization of the Eche ethnic nationality worldwide, has commended the Nigeria Police Force for arresting 2 alleged kidnap kingpins terrorizing the good people of Eche and its environs. The President General of Obako Eche, Silas Anyanwu, in a statement commended the police for their thorough intelligence gathering, which led to the arrest of the alleged suspects. Dr. Anyanwu warned kidnappers, organ harvesters, as well as other agents of atrocities in the area to relocate from Eche, as a place can never be a safe haven for any form of criminality. The president of the Eche, Obako, also applauded the chairman of Eche local government area, Chima Boniface Njoko, for keying into the land-grabbing issue, a campaign he said the group had already begun. He expressed optimism that the steps taken by the chairman by constituting a committee on land grabbing and acquisition was the right step taken. He said they were greeted with joy after the chairman stopped dredging within the Chokocho Bridge soon after his swearing in. The president, however, expressed worry that shortly after the council chairman assumed office, he suspended every activity of dredging, but expressed surprise that activities had begun again. He called on the chairman to see what he can do to bring permanent solution to the problem. Still to come, President Tinubu swears in new INEC chairman. Stay tuned. has asked the newly appointed chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Joash Amupitan, to defend the integrity of Nigeria's elections, describing credible polls as the bedrock of any democracy. The president said this at the State House in Abuja shortly after administering the oath of office to the new INEC chairman. The president said Professor Amupitan's appointment was a mark of confidence in his competence and character by both the executive and legislative arms of government. In his response, Professor Amupitan said his mission was to deliver free, fair, and credible elections while deepening democratic values across the country. During his first official meeting with the Commission's directors at the INEC headquarters, the new INEC chairman said achieving INEC's mandates would hinge on teamwork, discipline, and integrity within the institution. The Federal High Court in Abuja on Thursday adjourned till Friday, October 24, for the detained IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu to enter his defense in his ongoing trial. Trial Judge Justice James Omotosho fixed the date after Kanu's lead counsel, former Attorney General of the Federation Kanu Agabi, informed the court that they will be stepping down from the trial as wanted by the defendant. Kanu is standing trial on a 7-count charge brought against him by the federal government. The police say it arrested activist Omoyele Sowore for allegedly leading protesters into a restricted area in Abuja in defiance of a subsistent court order. The Force Public Relations Officer, CSP Benjamin Hundeyi, told journalists that the activists would be charged to court once investigations are concluded. Hundeyi said it will be unfair for the police to prosecute the protesters without the person who took them to the restricted area. The National Economic Council, NEC, has approved President Bola Tinubu's proposal to overhaul all training institutions of security agencies in Nigeria. Briefing State House correspondents shortly after the 153rd meeting of NEC at the Council Chamber of the State House, Abuja. Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani said the council also resolved that state governors should collaborate with the federal government in the overhaul project. He said NEC also set up a committee headed by Enugu State Governor Peter Mba to kickstart an on-the-spot assessment of the training institutions. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio have criticized a move by Israel's parliament towards annexation of the occupied West Bank. On Wednesday, far-right politicians in the Knesset took the symbolic step to give preliminary approval to a bill applying Israeli law in the territory, which the Palestinians claim as part of a hoped-for independent state. Speaking at the end of a trip to Israel, Vice President Vance branded it a very stupid political stunt, while Mr. Rubio warned that annexation of the West Bank would threaten President Donald Trump's plan to end the conflict in Gaza. Israel's Prime Minister called the move a deliberate political provocation by the opposition to sow discord. And that's the news, but before we go, another look at the headlines. We told you the National Publicity Secretary of the APC, Felix Morka, said Governor Fubara is welcome to the party should he defect. You heard the delay by the River State Governor to constitute a cabinet have continued to stir reactions. Riwama is to recruit sanitation marshals to arrest violators of environmental laws. President Tinubu has sworn in the new INEC chairman with a charge to improve the integrity of the commission. On the foreign scene, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio criticized Israeli moves to annex the occupied West Bank. The news was edited by Onyekachi Wonsu. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808 721 7215. I'm Sam Chinedu. Thanks for listening.